kept you waiting, huh?
It's a natural thing. You gotta vibe with it. You gotta slide in. Obviously, extremely late to the party. You got Three Kings here. You got Arze Poetic. We're your hosts coming live from my one bedroom apartment. Sitting here on the comfy couch. Yeah, we're excited, nervous. Obviously, extremely late to the party. There's a million podcasts out there, but we hope you choose to listen to this one. We're definitely going to cover something that we both love and hold close to our hearts, which is video games, something that's played a huge pivotal role in my upbringing, in my childhood. Basically, two friends got together, said, you know what, let's just do it. We love to casually have dinner and talk about video games. So why not put it to paper and then translate it to audio and do what we do? Like I mentioned before, Three Kings here. Obviously, our gamer tags. But yeah, Three Kings. I absolutely love playing first person shooters, Call of Duty, Battlefield, whatever you like to do as far as FPS goes, Ezra.
Yeah, so hopping in to say just about a little bit what I like to play. All over the map. There's certain genres I haven't touched too much on, but love action adventure, love anything with a good story, and a fan of all kinds of stuff. So I'm all over the map with multiplayer stuff, heavily on the single player. Love
More
me,
offline games,
yeah. Offline games, that's my kind of my go-to. I definitely got to have the online games with the squad and everything,
which is rare, by the way.
which is
Just to
rare.
add,
We have
nowadays that's like everyone wants to do everything multiplayer online with their friends, whatever.
Yeah,
I feel like that's like a dying thing as far as offline games goes. Solo play, you know, achievements, things like that,
yeah.
trophies. Like I don't see that too much. I know that they have a section on the consoles for that. So I
Yeah.
mine is
I mean,
catching
every
dust.
game technically, I think is supposed to have trophies
Yeah,
on the at least on the PlayStation platform.
yeah.
And I know that on PC and Xbox they have their own versions of that. But
What are they called though? I heard
so achievements, I think actually that's for both.
I sound
Uh,
very ignorant right now with I don't know. I'm completely PlayStation. I'm team PlayStation.
Team
Obviously,
PlayStation.
no close to even knowing a little bit about Xbox. I'm very rookie to that.
But you did have didn't you have a 360 right back in the
No,
day
not
or
360. It was
the
like
one,
Xbox original,
the original, the
original,
chunky boy?
the chunky, the thick boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I had that one, and we used to. Ours Poetic remembers because we used to do very light versions of LAN parties at my house, and then
Yeah,
we'd run the
we
multiplayer.
did a little Halo. I remember there was a was it called Fusion Frenzy? Is
Oh
that the
my
one?
goodness
That's
gracious, that is
yeah.
the game! I swear, if you've
Yeah.
never played Fusion Frenzy on the Xbox original, or I think
Yeah.
they let you rebuy, I think they let you purchase it after the fact on the Xbox 360. I think,
Yeah.
or you could just buy
It's
E1 off
probably it's
Amazon.
probably
Yeah.
like you could probably dig it up. Or, if you can't dig it up on a current gen platform, you could always turn to an emulator. We'll touch on that later. But yeah, so why don't we roll into, how we got into gaming a little bit. So pretty much as long as I can remember, I've been playing games. I remember having, I think I had it was a NES or a Super NES probably
Yeah.
with the Super Mario, and I think I had like a Top Gun game or something. I remember
Mm.
flying around and shit. But then it really broke down to me with the N64.
Oh
I
wow.
I went to town on that. Big Zelda fan. Ocarina of Time, played that shit 50 times. I don't know how many times. And then of course the PS1 era. And then ever since that, I got a PlayStation every single launch date. PS2 at launch, PS3, PS4, PS5. And
Jeez.
of course I did have a GameCube,
Had the money.
and now more recently I've been getting into the PC side of things, and so we're gonna talk a little bit about that. But that's kind of my general how
Well,
I got into gaming consoles.
let's go. I don't mean to jump in and interrupt, but let's go back here because I remember you explaining that you. Well, not. It's not that you. There's no holes in your story here.
Yeah.
I know we've talked in great length about your PlayStations and whatnot, but I remember you saying something along the lines of you didn't really have a lot of exposure to PS1 games. Right? Is that
True,
right?
true. No, no,
Besides Metal
no.
Gear Solid.
This is
Correct.
true. So basically, I was heavy into the N64 side of things.
Hence the podcast name, by the way. If you haven't picked up
Yeah.
on
If you
that,
haven't
by the
picked up
way.
on the name, shout out to the Metal Gear fans that know, that know what's up.
You already know. As
You
soon as you
already
clicked
know.
on this, you knew what this was. Well, the podcast isn't fully dedicated to that, but it's heavily influenced by
Yeah,
that.
it's definitely another point where we both are, we got Metal Gear high up in our lists.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, to that point, I had an
Mhm.
N64,
Yeah.
um, and I actually I had Final Fantasy VII on PC,
Oh
and
wow.
so it was just those two really that I was super into. And then
Mhm.
I was at a daycare, and they had a
Mhm.
PS1, and I was the only one that could beat the Metal Gear Solid demo
Get out of here. No
back on the demo
way.
disc, and so I was like, "Damn, this game is pretty
What you know
cool."
about demo disc?
Demo discs. If you guys don't know the demo disc, man, that's a bygone era. It's gone.
Oh man. And you
But
miss it. You miss it.
so I eventually, I think it was my uncle that hooked me up with a
Mhm.
PS1, but all I really did
Yeah.
have was a couple RPGs. I had like Final Fantasies. I had like Legend of Dragoon. I had Metal
Wow.
Gear Solid.
Mhm.
That was kind of it, that in the N64, and then I like hit heavy with the PS2 with the GTA's and the
Oh my goodness.
Onimusha and the Metal Gear Solid 2, like
Vintage
all
GTA.
kinds of shit.
Yeah.
But it kind of took off from there. But you're right, like a lot of the PS1 classics, like for instance Silent Hill,
Silent Hill
Siphon
was
Filter and
yeah.
stuff. Like I played a little bit
Hmm.
maybe of those games here and there, like at a friend's house or something. But
Gotcha.
that is sort of one of the PlayStation
Yeah.
consoles that kind of escaped me otherwise.
I feel
What
like
about
yeah. S- Very similar story minus the launch. I didn't have that kind of money, everyone. I didn't,
you?
I didn't have that kind of money to be buying it every launch, but I got it a year later for Christmas. But yeah, no, all jokes aside, my first experience, I'd say I got into gaming. Um, I believe I was around 10 or 9. I don't know. My memory is terrible. Around that age, I remember very clearly my brother in law had a PlayStation 1. I'm old school. I call it
Hey,
PlayStation 1, or you could just call it PlayStation, whatever's acceptable by the general public.
I
But yeah,
catch it.
no, exactly. So the PS1, my brother in law had it. I remember him constantly playing every night, late night. And I remember being a little kid running in the living room, watching him play on the TV, propped up on the dresser, watching him, level after level, save it. He'll play for a couple hours, 2 hours playing Metal Gear Solid 1. And then, each day, each night, he would progress further and further into the game. And I just remember that right there, that moment when I seen him being able to control with his controller. Because, I'm broke boy from the hood, never really had any prior systems. Not that I'm knocking Arze Poetic here for having nice things.
Going in.
I know, huh? I'm just disrespecting right
It's
now.
a couple things. Couple things. That's all it was.
Yeah,
I
just
didn't have much else.
yeah. Flashy things. That's all that matters, man. But yeah, nah, and not to discount what the gifts he got. But it's me and my brothers. It was a bunch of us. So we
Sure.
had to share everything. And anybody that
Yeah.
has multiple siblings can relate as far as brothers goes. I mean, maybe your sisters are really not into video games heavily.
I mean, they
Girls are
plus
though.
they're,
Yeah.
I try
Now.
to,
Yeah.
but and they do dabble, but the other side of it is
Yeah.
your brothers are much closer in age, where
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
sisters are 10 years younger,
Yeah.
so
So it's like, oh, I
they
don't think
kind
a
of miss
baby
that
wants to
part.
play.
Yeah.
But Metal Gear Solid was my first exposure to the video game universe, and I fell in love immediately. And um, I remember when he would work graveyard, he would leave the apartment because at the time he was staying there as well. And I remember me and my older brother, I would look up to him and say, "Hey, you try, you do it. I want to see you play." And I would watch him. I'd sit there and I'd watch him, go at it. And it was crazy because I don't think my brother-in-law caught on to us sneaking and playing his saved games. And I think if he would find out, he'd probably be pissed at that point. But thankfully, he didn't really realize he was too busy focused on working and providing for his family that he didn't really care too much. But that was the first exposure, and then from there, it kind of just took off. And the next year, I remember we were in so much love and would constantly talk about it, me and my brothers, that my sister was kind enough to purchase us a PlayStation. Like I said, a year later, but hey, better late than never. And we got the ball rolling when dang, what was it? Ezra, help me.
Hmm.
Gaming store, EB Games.
EB Games,
When
yeah.
EB Games,
Oh
throwback
man,
to any of you.
throwback.
Don't know if it's just a Bay Area thing. It could have been everywhere,
I think it might have been elsewhere, but
possibly.
yeah,
Maybe in your local mall,
you know,
possibly.
they
If
had they
if
had different versions. I'm sure if you're not in this area or if you didn't have one in your area, you probably had something else similar to
a
it.
Blockbuster, whatever.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't I don't remember off top, but there's other ones,
yeah,
but EB Games is definitely one.
yeah. I think personally, yeah. Those that was the to me, and I'm going a little off topic, but honestly, to me, those were the moments. Was going to physically going to a video game store, whatever
Hmm.
one you want to call it, Blockbuster, wherever, renting, buying, doesn't matter. And I tell you, once we got the PS1, we would hit them all up every weekend, and we would make
Hmm.
sure to make a stop there at our EB Games and go through the clearance section and make sure to find anything we can afford, $10 or under. And I remember back then those games were that kind of cheap, bro. Everyone
Yep.
misses out on that. Now you're paying, you're talking 65
Yeah.
DLCs, the whole nine. We'll get to that later
We'll
in the,
get to
the
that later.
podcast, but
Yeah, everything's definitely changed. It's almost like there's different versions of it now, though. So, like, for instance, right now,
yeah,
if you do wait long enough, you can get games for that same kind of price.
yeah.
But you do have to wait like a couple years, let them kind of simmer
That's a long
down.
time,
You
my
know what I'm
guy.
saying? Yeah, but that's
Yeah,
kind of how it goes. Is like,
yeah,
yeah, brand new, you're looking at to pay a hefty amount.
yeah.
$60 plus.
I think that the reason why I say it meant a lot was because these games were technically unknown indie type games
Yeah.
where that they may not have did well in the what do you want to call it, the mainstream market,
Right.
I
Right.
guess, and they got kicked down to discount, so we'd go through the bin and pick some. I found some just
Gems.
unbelievable gems.
Yeah.
One of them being, I mean, to my knowledge, Siphon Filter wasn't super popular, but it was I found it in the clearance bin. Don't know how long it
Yeah.
had been out at that moment. That is one of my favorites, top five for sure, hands
Mm.
down. Silent Hill, another one. And mind you, I know these were probably mainstream release to the public, everything, but being like I said in the situation financially, um, and you come about those games, you treat them like they're gold,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
No
they're not
doubt.
easy to come by. Obviously, if you don't have the
Right.
funds for them.
And it means more when you're in the store because
Yes.
then you physically come across it. If something about it physically catches your eye
Oh,
and
the
you're
the
like,
cover
oh, what
art
is
for
this?
sure.
And you pick it up and you hold it and you're like, this looks cool. I could take this home with me
Yeah,
for this price. Whereas, you get that on some level with digital
yeah.
storefronts nowadays. For instance, if you're browsing the PlayStation Store or Steam or what have you. But and you can kind of look at it and
Hmm.
everything, but it's almost a little, it's simulated in
Yeah, yeah, big
the
time.
true feeling like of just having it in your hand, going like, oh yeah, take it home,
Yeah.
pop it in,
Oh man, I just
you
remember
know.
reading the that you immediately just like and of course this is gonna sound very what's that, nostalgic for anybody in the
Hmm.
age demographic of 28 to 32, I guess, or I don't know, whatever. That's a little odd,
Whatever.
actually. That's a little weird
A little
age
specific, a
demographic,
little
a little
specific.
specific. But yeah, around that 25 to 35, we'll just say that between that age demographic. No, yeah, no,
uh
not working.
Ballpark, ballpark,
Ballpark it,
but go on.
whatever. But grabbing, going to the Blockbuster or any movie store and actually grabbing the DVD, or if you were lucky enough, a
Hmm.
VHS tape and flipping it to the back and reading it, and
Yeah.
like those little things that I do miss. And of course, like I said, we're way off topic with that,
Yeah,
but that's, I mean, we could talk all day
we
about
could talk
the
all day about it.
differences between when I was growing up to now, but we're not here for that. This episode is strictly we're comparing two topics that, like I stated earlier, Ars Poetic and myself had a very, very lax conversation regarding console and PC gaming. My voice cracked a little bit, my bad.
All
but
good.
but yeah, just to cap it off, um, uh, when I was exposed to the PlayStation, ever since then I've gotten PlayStation after that. PS2, PS3, PS4. Been nothing but a strictly PlayStation player um, since then, and love the Metal Gear franchise, Metal Gear Solid franchise. Love the
Definitely.
Silent Hill franchise. Love the Resident Evil franchise. That actually is
Right,
another
right.
one that was played at the same time that first initial viewing of Metal Gear Solid was
Yeah.
right after that was Resident Evil, Tekken, everything, man. Fighting
Classics.
Force was another gem. But yeah, but
Yeah. So what so to talk about that, I mean, definitely with both of our backgrounds, you guys can get the sense that we've been super into console gaming, and that's been our prime, focus on our experience with gaming. And
yeah.
so we found an interesting talking point in what that's like versus PC gaming.
Mhm.
And and to just to make it clear, at the end of the day, gaming's gaming.
Oh, we love each other,
And
man. That's
you know what
that.
I'm saying? It's
It.
none of that war bullshit, that console war bullshit, or
Yeah.
PC gamer elitism, or none of that bullshit
I like these
is
big words you're
character.
using here.
But but they're very interesting worlds in
They are.
themselves. And for someone that is not too familiar with one or the other,
Mhm.
we thought it was an interesting topic to kind of compare the two. Especially myself, I've been, you know, I got a gaming PC, maybe, or well, a laptop,
Yeah.
about 3 years ago or so. And I
Pretty
recently,
snazzy one, by the way.
pretty snazzy. That's what we're recording on right now.
Yeah.
But I also built myself an actual desktop
Hmm.
a couple months back. And so I've been getting more heavy into it, and we're definitely going to cover that more. But we thought that would be kind of cool to talk about the differences from our
Yeah.
perspectives, coming from a mostly console background.
Yeah. I'm very, like I stated, very pro PlayStation. And that's all I've been pretty much gaming on. I've tried, other consoles. Obviously, I've tried the Xbox briefly. I had one. I tried the Xbox 360 here and there, but primarily console. I know for me, um, I can list probably the first time I ever tapped. I guess we'll call it tapped on a keyboard and moved a mouse. Uh,
There you go.
if you
Yeah.
must. But my very first experience with that would probably be CS:GO. Um, Counter Strike, obviously, it's a
Yeah.
big deal, still big deal. I honestly am jealous of the players because that game is still awesome, still
Hmm.
carries weight, still is
Oh yeah.
serious and competitive as ever before. I believe that they're going to keep going strong. But that was my very first experience. I remember sitting down and thinking, "What the hell am I doing? I don't know how to do both at the same time. I don't know how
Hmm.
to do the what is it, the alphabet almost on the keyboard,
Yeah.
and then move the mouse at the
The
same time and
wild
shoot and
keys.
click."
Yeah.
So as a, let's say, roughly 11 years old doing that, it was a very overwhelming experience as a kid. But CS:GO would be the first game I've ever had exposure to as far as PC gaming goes. And then of course,
Hmm.
if you really want to get real technical, I did a lot of offline gaming. I know I kind of low key dissed it earlier, but I did a little bit. I had a stint of that when your boy didn't have no internet, so he was doing offline desktop gaming.
Oh yeah.
That's what I like to call it. It's the pinball machine. You already know,
Space
solitaire,
Space Pinball
space.
2000. I
Yeah,
think
there
that's
it
what it
is.
was.
The
Yeah.
noises,
Yeah.
all that jazz, and then
Minesweeper.
Minesweeper. I never got that. I always thought it
Yeah.
was, yeah, the object of the game was to click a bunch of squares and
Yep.
just like in a, I don't know. I never
Yeah.
understood, and as an adult, I tried to go back and yeah, it's a nightmare.
It's a fun
Then
game
they
for
got
its
jumbo
time.
version now,
They
which is
got jumbo
strange.
version.
Very
Yeah,
strange.
I definitely, it's funny because I'd say like my first
Yeah.
getting into PC gaming, into, well, I mean, that's more recently, to be honest, but I did spend a ton of time Final Fantasy VII when that came out on PC.
Mhm.
And
Final
that
Fantasy is very popular
oh yeah,
across all
all
platforms.
platforms,
All platforms.
all
And you know
platforms.
what? I'm gonna catch a lot of heat from this, from you, and from anybody else that hears this. I am that guy. I am that guy that has not. I've played maybe in total in my life. I've played maybe an hour worth of Final Fantasy. I
Yeah,
can't even say it right. That's how bad
it's
it is.
it's a damn shame. That's what
He
that is.
said it's a damn
But
shame.
you know, maybe we'll correct
Plus, I
that
have the
one day.
Southern accent.
You know,
Yeah.
we'll look at maybe that's a topic for another time
Oh
on
my goodness. Yeah.
maybe game series that we wish we gotten
But
time to play or something.
and then
And
in parentheses, it'll be it's never too late.
it's
It's
never too
never.
late. I love that.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
you know, note to our future selves.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, number seven, that was definitely a game changer for me.
Hmm.
You know, I must have been like 7 or 8, getting into that, or maybe like 9, but definitely beforehand, even younger. I remember, you know, on the computer messing around with like the Brick Breaker,
Hmm.
you know, messing around with games like that, and what's it called, Rodent's Revenge, you
Wow.
know,
All
messing
this is
around.
brand new to your boy. I
Oh
have no
yeah.
idea
Oh
what
man,
any
if you
of
look
this
up
is.
Rodents Redemption, it's a very, very rudimentary game.
I
It's
got a lot
very,
of Googling to do
you know,
later.
but for those of you that know, you know, it's like that Minesweeper level of game where it's like very simple, but you
Ah,
know,
gotcha.
very good stuff. But anyways, you know, so we're here to talk about our perspectives, and of course,
Yeah.
if you're familiar, you know, definitely chime in. You know, we're gonna be putting this up on multiple platforms, but for the YouTube guys, just go ahead and throw in comments what your experiences were
Yeah,
and
we'd love to
whatnot.
hear the personal stories
Yeah, or
of
things
how
like
you
that.
got into gaming or your first PC game you played or any
Yeah,
recommendations of any of the other also Final Fantasy stuff like that too as well. Yeah,
yeah,
if you're willing to slander me in the comments, that's cool too. I'm all right with that. It's Three Kings, by the way, T3hreeKings, if you want to get it right. I just want to make sure the spelling's down. That way, if you want to
yeah.
really hit it home,
I,
you want to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, what I always do for your screen name, I
Yeah.
always go T3hreeKings. That's how I remember it. T3 Hree.
Hooray.
That's how I do it. And then for myself,
Yeah.
that's Arze Poetic, Arze Poetic. You know, all together usually. I
Yeah.
mean, I do technically separate them, but when it comes to the screen names, I just
Just run
drop
it
it
together.
together.
Because
Exactly.
that's like a man.
Yeah.
This
None
is
of
an
that
odd,
underscore shit.
yeah. This is an odd pivot here, but if you used to browse the chat rooms as a teenager, you know what, just keep it all one word. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Keep your username one word. It was easier back then.
Yeah.
I'm getting real old school with this. Like a lot of this is real nostalgic for me. I don't know. The mic's in front of my face. I just decide to just dive deep like this.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So, you know, we kind of wanted to touch on different points. And so, me being a little more familiar, one thing that always was kind of like a sticking point until like maybe made me a little hesitant on getting into gaming, and, you know, which a major difference is the input itself, where typically, you know, if you're playing on PC, you're mouse and keyboarding that. While, of course, you can play
yeah,
controls in most games, I
yes.
want to say. Some games are don't have controller
So you
support.
mean like plug in a controller into
Yeah,
your
or
computer?
wireless. You could do wireless nowadays
Oh,
too.
like Bluetooth?
Yeah,
Oh,
100%.
interesting.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
God, man, I'm being exposed here. I have
yeah,
no idea what you're talking about.
yeah. For instance, you can
Yeah.
get your you know, PlayStation controller, wireless that up to the computer and play away. You know, and so things are definitely becoming more combined in that regard, and we're going to cover that.
To me, the controls are a little more I guess obviously coming from a like I said before, pro PlayStation viewpoint and console viewpoint. The controls for me on PC are complex. Obviously, for me, doing just a controller with a couple fingers and pressing a couple buttons and possibly using a middle finger for something and things like that. Um, but I think with the keyboard and the mouse, and then possibly what dual monitors, maybe would you use dual monitors for
Well.
like a well? But I don't know. I'm just getting a little confused here. I'm confusing myself, but to me, it seems like it would be more difficult, but it tends to be
Easier.
easier
Yeah,
to game on PC versus console
yeah,
because you have
yeah.
more mobility. Would you say?
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I think it's just easier to be
Yeah.
accurate, you know, and that's why it's like a common stereotype that like PC gamers, you know, wreck console gamers one on one, or you know, when they go against
Oh
each
yeah,
other.
all the time. Call
You
of
know,
Duty all the time. I
you
can
know, and
easily
there
attest
is
to that.
credence to that
Yeah.
stereotype in that I mean, yeah, I think it's
Do
very
they have it?
natural.
Do they have an advantage? Is the real question. All us console
Well,
players want.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. So my 2 cents on it is the average Joe, I would say,
Yeah,
would likely perform better on PC because I think overall it's a more natural motion when you're kind of trying to
with the mouse.
pinpoint, yeah, a target. If we're talking any kind of shooter or any
Okay.
kind of or anything really that takes some sort of aiming or camera movement, or even
Yeah.
precision. But I think there is an advantage,
Hmm.
but at the same time, I think anybody if they really dedicate themselves, they put into it, and they can be as good. I kind of like to point for this, an example.
Yeah.
There's this dude on he's got a YouTube, and I don't know if he does other stuff, but I got him on YouTube. Broken Machine. He's a phenomenal Battlefield player. He does Call of Duty and stuff too,
No
but
way.
he's a phenomenal Battlefield player. He does all platforms, and if you see him on PlayStation or Xbox with a controller, you compare that gameplay to what when he's playing on PC or when like a super high level player is playing
Yeah.
on PC, you will not know.
The
And
difference.
you will not know the difference. And
Interesting.
he's done before. I've seen it where he's got the camera on the controls. So you can see he's playing with controls.
I love when
But
they
this
do that. I don't
dude,
know why I love when they do that on
I mean,
YouTube.
it's kind of
I
cool.
like that. I don't know why. I find myself really enjoying that. That's why
Yeah.
when I do decide when I do stream sometimes, at first in the beginning I was kinda I was kind of hesitant to have the camera kind of angled downward, but I
Yeah.
kind of tried to pull that off, but it ended up
Yeah.
just looking terrible. So I had to
I
switch it. With the
mean,
PlayStation
it's
camera,
good.
it's
Yeah.
not really doesn't really work that well as it would with
Yeah.
a what a webcam or whatever.
Yeah. And you can set up like dual camera streams and
Yeah.
stuff.
See, and that's sick. There's
And you know, and we could get into that at some point,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
but yeah, I mean, so point being that like I think you can be as good, and
yeah.
it's just sort of a you know, um
I think for me, I mean, and I speak for I hope my fellow console players is that anytime, well, at least with the newer games, as far as I mean, my only reference as far as first person shooters, I'm not really on anything exclusively right now. I know we did we in the squad, myself at Arze Poetic, and then the squad, which hopefully we'll introduce later at some point in our series of podcasts here. But me and the squad, we were running hardcore, some Modern Warfare,
mhm.
the most recent Modern Warfare, which, by the way, no plug. I promise I'm not plugging this game, but apparently they just released the very teaser trailer to the
Yeah,
Modern Warfare 2.
yeah,
I was confused. I thought they were doing a remaster on a remaster, but it's
yeah.
not that. They're actually doing
No,
a sequel to Modern Warfare that they just
yes,
made,
yeah, it's
which is
very
interesting.
confusing. And let's just quick point on naming conventions. You know, developers,
Please.
please, you guys got to think that shit through, because
Yeah,
when you're coming out with Call of Duty
that's insane.
4 and then Modern Warfare 2, 3, and then you come out a few years later with Modern Warfare, and
Widely confusing.
it's widely confusing, and so now it's just known as Modern Warfare 2019. If you talk to anybody and you're trying to be specific, that's what it is,
Off the rails, man.
because
I think
uh,
it's not
yeah,
the timeline's not adding up. It's just it's odd. We're doing remasters in the middle of releasing new game,
yeah,
and and once
oh yeah,
again, I would I mean we're getting to that at a later episode. But to be honest with you, just to kind of try to round this off and keep on subject, I mean, I think if I'm using the proper word, I'm gonna
uh-huh,
have to open up a Oxford Dictionary or whatever. Is
yeah,
that what it is? I don't know.
yeah,
A dictionary, dictionary.com. I think it's very the FPS field or genre right now
yeah,
is extremely diluted.
yeah,
Would that be
100%.
okay?
Yeah, yeah, no,
Is that good? Are we running with
uh,
that?
yeah, I mean,
But it's very watered down.
yeah,
Not watered down. It's very oversaturated, is
yeah,
what I was trying to say.
yeah, yeah,
With
yeah,
them trying to, for some odd reason, we'll just use Call of Duty. We're just gonna go ahead and bully Call of Duty right now. But
sure,
because I hold Black Ops One close to my heart, that's where I started my clan. for Call of Duty, for just, and that's how I
Everything.
met majority of my online friends was through Black Ops One,
Yeah, yeah.
and I think that I hold a slight anger towards them for releasing a gang of titles right after that,
Yeah.
and it was oversaturated, and I felt like they completely missed the mark, and they completely just left out what the true fans wanted,
Yeah.
and it became such a money grab that it frustrated me, my friends, and then we migrate to other games,
Mhm.
other games to play together on.
100%. But yeah, yeah, just to wrap up on as far as like input and controls, like, I know people that they will only play shooters, third person, first person, whatever,
Yeah,
on PC. They're like, oh, that game, yeah, no, I'd only play that on PC, or they only get it because of how much more comfortable they are
yeah,
using that. And myself, I'm usually the other side in that when I'm on a PC, I feel like almost like a slight disconnect in that when I have a controller in my hand, I know it's time to play, it's time to game. But
that's
I use a
strange.
PC
That's
for work.
weird.
I use a PC to study. I use it, you know what I
So
mean?
it's just kind of like you're working and
You know,
studying.
I mean,
It's not gaming.
it's it's
Just kidding.
it's a very slight thing, and I think most people can throw that away. But it's just something I think worth
Yeah,
noting. And I think for people that aren't into it, I think the amount of keys
yeah.
can sort of be daunting because
Mhm.
you got a whole keyboard. But when
Instantly,
in reality, you only use um, like the
like a
left.
percentage of it.
You use just a
You
portion
use, I'd
typically.
say about roughly, and this is just my wild math, like 15% of the keyboard you're using,
Something like that. I
maybe
mean,
even less.
typically all of the functions, if it's a cross-platform game, typically
Yeah,
all of the functions you can do in a console game, you're doing on PC,
yeah.
um, and with the same amount of buttons. But
Question.
however, real,
Whoa. Oh,
uh,
wow. We got a
oh,
however and
okay.
a
Well, real quick.
question. Go, go,
However,
go.
there are games that
Yes.
take more advantage of the fact that you got more buttons on PC.
Yeah.
So, for instance, one I've been looking into, I want to try out Escape from Tarkov. That's
Yo,
one
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
got tons of different like buttons and things
Yeah.
going on. Where I actually think it would be kind of difficult to map that to console based on what I've seen.
Yeah. Wait, is that one that's like it's like a more realistic like survival shooter type deal? Like I don't know if I'm getting that right because I remember hearing that name somewhere.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, that's it. That's
Is
it.
that the one where you gotta like scavenge for like armor and build your
Yeah,
stuff? It's kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
like The Forest on
Something
PlayStation.
like that,
God, that
but
game is
yeah.
very underrated. Have you played it, The Forest? I
I
think
have it.
have
It was one of those like you were like, "Yo, let's
downloaded.
get this." Da, da,
God,
da.
I'm
We
so
never played it.
disrespectful because it's just. Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure a lot of the audience can relate to. You're that guy. I get a lot of those memes. You're that
yeah.
guy that's like, "Hey, bro, we're downloading this. Come on, man, you got to hop on." And then it's like, "All right, I'll do it tomorrow." He does it tomorrow. We're already on to
Something else.
a different project there.
Yeah, yeah,
The I haven't played the new Spider-Man.
yeah. You
The
got to,
No,
got to.
I know the graphics. After you showed me
Yeah.
the buff on the graphics or whatever, not the buff, but the option change
On
on. Was
PS5.
that that was
I
you that
think
showed me, right?
probably. But yeah, especially now that you have one,
Mhm.
Spider-Man games on PS5, um,
Top tier,
whew,
top tier,
yeah, it's top tier.
top
Especially
tier.
right now,
Yeah,
with the proper monitor or TV,
yeah.
they just rolled out VRR support, which is
Whoa,
variable refresh rate.
a lot of
So
R's in there, bud.
yeah, so for the uninitiated, basically what that is that normally a monitor or TV will display a frame rate 60 frames,
Okay.
120 frames. My
Yeah,
laptop 144 frames,
yeah,
but like, and then a game will try to match that to a certain degree.
yeah,
So if for instance if you're playing in a mode that supports 60 FPS, it's going to try to match that. But whenever it drops
yeah,
due to performance or whatever, you're gonna see a little lag, a little glitch as you're playing. When it starts getting heavy.
yeah.
Now with
Because it's
very
a lot to process.
it's a lot to process, and that's normally
Yeah,
when the frame rate dips. There's a
yeah.
lot going on, explosions, what have you. But with variable refresh rate, when
Hmm.
the frame rate dips,
Yeah.
your monitor will actually change the refresh rate of the
So
monitor or
it'll auto
TV.
adjust it, kind
It'll
of.
auto adjust it, and it's gonna smooth out the whole experience.
That's
So
intense.
basically, it's butter on butter. It's
It's
just
just buttery
it's buttery. It's
cake,
buttery,
busting
and
out the cake.
so with that, you know, that's just one of the many ways that consoles are more and more becoming like PCs
Uh huh.
with the amount of options that they have and the amount of different experiences you can get on it.
Yeah.
Because generally consoles are are pretty static. You buy it, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's plug and play. You don't have to worry about shit. You just have a couple settings maybe. But on PC, it's a whole different ball game because there's so many different types of hardware, so many different types of graphics cards, processors,
Yeah.
what have you. So they have to have all of these settings that allow you to adjust.
Yeah.
But more and more console games are shipping with these settings because they know people. Some people might
For the
prefer
lazy man
for
is
the
what
lazy man.
the
That's how it's been
lazy,
designed.
not man. I don't mean to say just men play,
The
but
lazy
lazy
gamer,
gamer.
the lazy
It's
gamer.
more or less, and I don't mean to shout. I'm getting real animated with this.
Yeah,
But it's more or less for the I don't want to say casual gamer, but more or less for like a I'd say, yeah, like a lazier version of a gamer, not taking away from the fact that they don't want to play competitively or anything like that. Not knocking any of that. Obviously, me, um, strictly console, you strictly console, pretty much. I mean, a little PC here and there sprinkled in, but I think for myself, uh, I get a console because I know I don't have to build shit,
mess with it.
mess with it, mess with settings. And as you know, which is very
Yeah,
frustrating, is the fact that I keep it extremely default on
yeah,
everything across the
yes,
board.
yes.
And then we went over some things last night.
Right.
Just a little side note here, sidebar. Finally got a PlayStation 5 after a 2 year wait. All my bad. I was um, I was given a heads up by Arze Poetic. He laid it out, said, "Hey, look, listen, you need to sign up online. You need to do this. You need," and I completely blew it off. And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll get one next month." And next month turned to 2 years later. Thus, me getting it via PlayStation Direct. Shout out to PlayStation Direct. Good looking. But yes, I finally achieved gold status. Got me a nifty P5,
Nifty
and
P5.
I know that it drives Ars Poetic crazy because everything's default set. There's like 4 or 5 different things that allowed me to expand my PlayStation game on PS4 that I had no idea. One of those things being a hard drive, adding a external hard drive,
Internal.
internal hard drive. Well, no, that's for the PS4 that we did. That was
Oh,
internal.
sorry, I'm tripping.
External hard drive. You put me on that.
Right, right.
I
No,
got that.
sorry, I was lost. But I'm saying you will put an
I
internal.
will.
Yeah,
And so going back to that,
yeah.
for the PlayStation 5, I'm
Yeah.
looking at it in a different perspective now.
Hmm.
I look at it, I mean, obviously with the price tag, I better care.
Yeah.
But also, it's essentially a computer.
Yeah.
It performs high rate. The graphics are amazing. Everything is great about the system, the console.
Right.
And this time around, I want to do it right. I want to do it. I want to do it fresh. I want
100%.
to make sure I take care of my baby. I love my baby, and I
100%.
want to make sure that I do some great add-ons. And I'm excited about. We're doing an internal hard drive. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
An internal hard drive, a solid state drive
And those are
upgrade.
the things that we can add to essentially buff our experience on PlayStation 5. Correct.
The amount of games that you can have in there, rather.
Buff it up, beef it up, whatever.
Beef up the
Yes,
amount of games.
yes,
But yeah,
yes.
I mean that's
But
to
like little add-ons like that and the controllers,
the
correct?
controllers and
You can,
whatnot. But like you were saying, the settings. Like for
yeah.
instance, just to hop into a specific example, right now GTA 5,
Oh,
almost 10 years old at this point, but
10 years
they
still stuck on the same
still
game.
stuck on the same damn game.
Ouch.
Yeah, I mean they're getting there, but on the new platforms,
Yes.
PS5,
How's
Xbox.
the new? How's the new? the new rollout? How's that?
So it's dope. As someone who jumped as soon as that shit happened,
You jump ship
I jump
immediately.
shipped immediately, which means I couldn't play with my PS4 homies. But to be
Oh, so
honest,
that's oh, so that
yeah,
so that's permanent.
it's permanent. It's
Oh
permanent. You
shoot!
can't you
So real quick, just dive into that part real fast,
yeah.
because
So
I'm doing that really soon here.
yeah, so basically, you have to export your character from the menu in PlayStation 4, and then or the PS4 version, if you will, and then you can import it into the PS5 version. Now, the reason they do this, I mean, I'm sure there's many, but it comes down to it's sort of a different experience. It's got a higher level of capabilities, just like Battlefield, for instance, where the maps are larger.
Yeah.
And here, the whole experience is just smoothened up. And so the frame rate, for instance,
Mhm.
can jump up to 60 if you allow it.
Wow.
And so now here's to the point
Yeah.
in that consoles are becoming more like PCs because when you boot up GTA 5 on PS5
Yeah.
or Xbox Series X, um, by default the settings are on a fidelity mode, which means you're getting a 4K resolution at 30 frames per second targeted,
And
which
that's like default, like
that's
jumping in.
default. So when you pop in the game, if you don't know any better,
Just
that's the
leave it.
experience you're no. That's
He's like, don't do that.
that's the experience you're getting.
Yeah.
Um
And that's
and
not that bad.
it's not that bad. But it's not that better than what you had on PS4.
Gotcha.
All it is the resolution's upscaled
Hmm.
because what you had on PS4 was 30 frames a second. Now, if you go in the menu
Yeah.
and you change it to performance or performance RT, which is ray tracing, not only does it look crisper still, it's not quite 4K, but it's still higher resolution and it's upscaled. Um, you're now targeting 60 frames a second. And when you double the frame rate from 30 to 60, it's a butter experience. And I keep saying
Buttery
butter, but when you
cake.
slap on some butter on the stove and it just swaps around, it's
Yeah.
just that's what the
We doing steak
experience is
or
like.
we're doing steak
We're
or what are
doing
we doing?
steak with the rosemary and the garlic, all that.
Jeez, Chef
So
Ramsay would be proud.
so so but yes, certain games do target that, but we're seeing now on the consoles more than ever, you're having options. Do you want higher resolution
Yeah,
and a lower frame rate, a more standard 30,
yeah, I noticed that with the place.
or
Yeah.
yeah, quality mode, or performance mode?
Mm.
And to on PC, they've had to do that for so long because there's so many different types of PCs and hardware that people need to be able to do that. But on consoles, it's becoming more commonplace because people want the different options.
Yeah, I,
Point.
I think that just going back to me getting the PS5 and wanting to add to it with the scuff controller or the battles for the controller, the additions to that. I'm looking to improve my gameplay. I absolutely love how
Yeah.
the PlayStation 5's controller feels. I
Mm-hmm.
love it. It's great.
It's
I've
awesome.
already seen just standard,
Yeah.
just standard. I'm talking stock. I'm feeling it. Like as far as in my gameplay, I'm
Hmm.
feeling it. I ran some. Don't knock me either in the comments. Spell my name right if you are. Um, PUBG,
Hmm.
PUBG. We ran some PUBG, and I must tell you, I'm a very, very low key, average, like 1 to 2 kill guy. Not that great, but nonetheless, I pulled off like a 4 piece, and then like every match after that, it was like 3-4, 3-4 rotating, and
Yeah.
everything was crispy. It's
You're
I
just
mean,
feeling it.
and yeah, and then also
Yeah.
the load times, everything.
Oh yeah.
But with I feel like with I guess with I want to see if the stereotype is true.
Uh huh.
And from my perspective as a console gamer, I want to see if the stereotype is true, because every time you play Modern Warfare or any of the
Yeah.
Call of Duties, I'm not sure what other games do it, but they show you what console or what
Platform they.
system platform.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what platforms, because everything's crossplay now.
Oh yeah.
Everything's pretty much crossplay. If you're doing multiplayer online, FPSs I know are are very cross-platform. You can turn it
They're
off, turn it
getting
on.
more. I
Yeah,
still think there's a lot of progress, and there's still a lot of games that aren't.
yeah,
I was having some homies that do play on Xbox.
yeah,
It is actually still a very limited pool of what we
yeah,
can play together.
yeah.
But
Well, with Xbox, and yeah, I noticed that.
yeah,
That's strange, but I think Xbox is or Microsoft is being kind of like, more what am I trying to say?
restricted.
More restrictive to what they want to do. I mean, just look at their purchases. They're
It's
not trying to
actually the
share nothing.
reverse. It's
Is
actually
it
the reverse.
really
It is. Sony's
interesting?
been if you follow
I've been wrong my whole life.
yeah, no, it's actually the reverse. Microsoft has actually been pretty open about supporting crossplay.
And then it wasn't until someone else triggered them to kind of because I what's going on now recently with the whole I know I dipped in here and
Yeah,
there
yeah, yeah.
hearing the stories going down as far as on social media and stuff regarding the purchasing of
Studios and
these
things.
studios and
Right.
titles and everything and
Yeah.
making stuff exclusive again, very exclusive again. And I just I would do you want to shed some light on that a little bit?
Well, I guess you could say things are heating up in the sense that Sony and Microsoft are going buck wild on
Just a purchasing.
purchasing studio after studio. Like Sony just bought Bungie not that long ago.
Everyone was laughing at that one.
Microsoft bought Bethesda.
Man, that was a
Well, they
heartbreaker.
bought what's it called? The name's escaping me, but not Bethesda directly, but the parent company.
I like that.
But anyhow,
It's escaping me. I like that.
it,
I'm gonna start using that. New vocab
but
on this
anyways,
podcast.
so the thing is they are kind of beefing up
Hmm.
reasons to play on their platform.
Yeah.
However,
Okay.
they're both targeting kind of that play anywhere vibe, and Microsoft has been very heavy on that.
Yeah.
But
You-
PlayStation is more and more transitioning to
You're talking like share play,
no, no,
not
no,
share
no,
play. Sorry. Remote play.
no, no, no.
No. What do you mean play
So what I
anywhere?
mean by play anywhere is that with Microsoft, for instance, if you get Game Pass,
Yeah.
you get all these games on your console, but there's also Game Pass for PC,
It's like a collection.
and you get day one, Xbox games on PC, you know. So they don't
Oh,
care you don't
okay.
have an Xbox
Yeah.
console. You can still play their games on PC, which makes sense because
Isn't that how
Microsoft
kind
makes
of how?
Windows.
And I'm gonna sound silly saying this, but is that kind of how Steam works or not? Is that not how that works?
What do you mean?
Like where you can play titles no matter where or
Well, I
no matter
mean,
what console, I mean, or no?
well, Steam is a PC platform.
I'm confused.
Yeah, so this is
I
this
just
is part of why we're having the discussion.
yeah,
So
wildly.
to get into the storefronts, basically,
Mhm.
so you got PlayStation with your PlayStation Store and the PlayStation games. You got Microsoft with theirs,
Yeah.
and then in the PC space, there's Steam is the most prominent platform where you can buy games, download games, and play them on your PC.
Yeah.
Um, but Epic has their own launcher, Rockstar has their own launcher. All
I
these
didn't know Rockstar had their own
yeah, they
launchers. That's
do.
crazy.
And for PC gamers, it is kind of a pain in the ass because that means you got to download this whole other shit, right? So
Extraness.
extraness, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, you're still playing on whatever platform.
Got it.
But Microsoft has been opening up so you can play their games on PC. And one of the more recent um, acquisitions by Sony
Hmm.
is a company called Nixes, and what they specialize in
What the hell
is
is Nexus?
so it's a developer or
That's a
studio, if
that's
you
a
will.
funky name too, by the way.
Yeah, it's a funky name, but what they do
Yeah.
is they focus on porting games to PC. And so
Okay.
that basically was kind of like they've already been doing it. Sony, you can get God of War on PC, you can get Death Stranding on PC,
So it's
Days
not
Gone.
so like essentially like a kind of exclusive games to these platforms or no? Is that what you mean? You can get that through
on
this?
on PC. And that's what I'm saying is before, going backwards, if you wanted to play a first party PlayStation title, something that only came out on PlayStation,
Yeah.
you had to get a PlayStation.
Yeah.
But nowadays, if you wait long enough, that game will likely actually just come to PC anyways.
Yeah.
And they're still coming out on top because they're publishing the title. They're getting their revenue from it. And I think part of the strategy there is that they release it a little bit later with enhanced settings and things, and that people that get really buy into it, they're like, oh man, I want to get the console so I can get these day one, or I can
Yeah,
get more experiences like this, right? So it's to their benefit, but I also think it plays into the fact that you're not buying necessarily one console to play certain games anymore. I mean, you still are. We're still heavy in there. Don't get me wrong.
yeah,
But I think slowly but surely we're progressing to where you can play any game on any platform.
yeah.
And I think that's an awesome thing.
I think one thing I kind of blew by real fast was
Yeah, yeah,
the and I wanted to go back real briefly on it was the stereotypes
yeah,
in my and from my viewpoint I see that in Call of Duty and I kind of ran right past this but as I was trying to say Call of Duty they show the icon on what platform you're playing
right.
yada yada yada. And so it's funny because I believe it's Modern Warfare
Mhm.
shows you what exact platform you're on, and
Right.
anytime you see what's the icon? Was
It's like a monitor for
yeah,
PC,
it's like a monitor, and it's
controller
just
for Xbox.
it's a nightmare every time. And I don't know if
Yeah,
it's just I know when I see that icon coming up and
yeah.
it ain't on my team, I know I'm about to get wrecked. And that's just
Yeah,
I mean, and that's my stereotype. You got the blinged out guns. You have, they got all the charms. It's
yeah.
insane. And it's
It's
almost like
great.
they got laser sight on
Right.
you. Not laser sight, but laser focus on your
Yeah.
character, and there's no hitting them. And it's crazy because that's just my opinion. Whenever I see
Right.
that come up in a party or in
Right.
on the opposing team,
Yeah.
I'm already, I'm out that lobby. Like
Yeah.
I'm a poor sport and I'm
Yeah.
out the lobby. And you can call me whatever you want. I'd rather do that than rage quit mid match. But I
Sure,
know I'm
sure,
getting
sure.
straight just steamrolled.
Right,
And
right, right.
and I think that that's one of the stereotypes I have towards PC gaming. That and they're just I mean, I'm pretty sure the rest
Next
of
level.
yeah, next level and the rest of the audience can agree is the fact that we think that collectively PC gamers are better
Mm,
because they're more skilled because they're using both their hands separately and not
mm,
on just one controller. It's you're
mm,
operating,
mm.
you're multitasking
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
within
On a,
playing, also keeping your uh, 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 um, sharpness in the game as far as
yeah.
paying attention, also clicking, moving the mouse
That
at the same time.
that's true, and that's true. And I think there's a lot to that, and then that's why it is a stereotype. But I still kind of lean on my point earlier in
Mhm.
that you can be as good as a PC player, and it's not as like, well, yes, on average maybe the a good PC player is going to demolish a good console player, you know, give or take. I mean, I think it's a stereotype, but again, it's a stereotype for a reason, sort of. But at the end of the day, I don't look into it that much because I think we sort of see those things and we remember them more. Just like they say, you remember negative experiences more than positive ones. Like you remember when you
I'm a
get stuck
terrible
in
person.
traffic more than the times where you don't.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah. You're on
So
a road
like
trip. You're like, I remember this. Like, oh man,
this
coming
time I
up,
was
we're gonna
stuck, da, da,
have,
da. But
yeah,
all the times you zoom
some.
past, like you can't count how many times, but you don't really think about it.
Mm.
And so to that
Oh, that's
same,
good.
so that
Words of
same,
advice.
to that same extent, I think I think there's sort of an overemphasis on like the levels of game of PC versus console gamers
Oh, of
because
course.
you see that different icon when you get killed and you're like, ah, it's
Yeah,
because they're on PC.
yeah,
But when you see a PlayStation icon, you don't really think nothing of it because you're like, oh, they got me.
yeah. Well, no,
Yeah,
I mean, don't get me wrong. Never get it confused. I've waxed a couple of PC players. Don't play me.
yeah,
But, um, but the general consensus, in
yeah,
my opinion, from what I know and
yeah,
hear,
yeah,
is that they're the ones dishing it out the most,
yeah,
and I think that you think they have an advantage, and they're just a superior player um, above you because of the fact that
there
they
are.
they can use more motion. And it
Yeah.
wasn't until recently that I saw a, don't know who it was, obviously YouTube, where the guy, broke it down, and I sat there and I kind of listened, and honestly, I'm very intrigued in that. Going forward, that's something that
Yeah.
we will touch on in a later episode of one of the podcasts coming up, as far as me trying out some PC gaming, because
Yeah.
honestly, I'm very intrigued on. I honestly am thinking this might be my golden ticket to take it to the next level. I'm going
Yeah.
pro, guys. Going pro.
Well, I mean, there's always room to go pro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there you go.
There's definitely a lot to the motion. But like I said, I think if you put in the time, one thing that PC players I think on average will have more than console players is the fact that they have way more settings off the bat in many games, and how
Mhm.
that's kind of been the standard. Um, I think the typical PC player, they're not so much plug and play, and so they'll actually take the time to go in the settings, adjust their sensitivity,
Mhm.
turn off certain things, motion blur, what have you. Whereas a console player, I mean, I can't say for sure. I'm just pulling out my ass here, but basically,
Ouch.
but basically, I think on average they're not looking at settings.
That I
They just hop in and they
that's
play the
false.
game.
I will be the lawyer for the console
Uh,
coalition. Um, I know we go in there and mess around with the sensitivity. Yeah,
no,
I
no,
can
no. I
attest to
mean, I'm
that.
not saying it doesn't happen, but I'm just saying when you look at the level of PC players
Yeah.
and console players that actually look at the settings of their games, on
Mm.
PC you kind of have to because
Yeah.
of the different amounts of hardware that's out there. And
Hmm.
if your game's not running smooth, you got to go tweak that shit.
Yeah.
Or if
It,
you know what I
it's
mean.
almost like working on a car, huh?
It is. It kind of is.
In a weird comparison, it's like
In a
working on
weird
a car,
comparison, it
like an
really is.
engine. Like
Yeah,
you're tweaking the. I'm not even gonna say anything because I'm gonna embarrass myself. But it's like working on a car.
yeah.
But I couldn't compare. I guess working or like messing with the console is like working on a scooter. No,
Yeah.
just kidding. I'm just joking. That's
But yeah,
totally unrelated.
something to
Totally.
that effect. Uh,
Uh huh.
something to that effect. So yeah, but yeah,
But building a PC is is something that also piques my interest,
yeah,
in seeing these various videos of people putting the hard work into it, the money into it. Let's be
yeah,
honest, the money into it. That's
yeah,
really what this is about.
yeah.
But does that change the performance in game? As far as not graphics, but
You mean like what they can do?
performance, like as far as, how quick they react. How, I mean, obviously
I mean, it can.
it hangs on the fact that if you change the, what did you say, the frame rate,
Yeah,
does
yeah.
that,
So the higher frame rate they have, the more instant your game is gonna react, and the more instant you're gonna react. You're going to feel less like an input delay because it's just reacting so fast. And so, yeah, it can give you an edge, but then also you do have to push it to that degree. And there's plenty of PC players.
yeah,
Steam does a great thing where you can actually look at like the statistics on what are the most popular graphics cards. They actually pull all that data, or like
really?
what everybody has
So
basically.
something for like, okay, so for example, me being, a beginner at
Yeah,
looking into a build.
yeah,
I hear it all the time. Sometimes I'll be casually walking through a
yeah.
Target, or no, sorry, terrible example,
Best Buy.
Best Buy,
Yeah,
and you'll be walking through and you'll overhear a conversation, and usually
yeah.
it'll go, "Hey, I'm at home trying to set up a build. Do you have
Right.
any recommendations?"
Sure,
So,
sure.
for example,
Yeah.
you said Steam.
Yeah, so what you can do is something that's cool about that. In Steam, basically every game has recommended settings,
Hmm.
um, or sorry, minimum requirements,
Hmm.
and then
I've seen
recommended
that. I've seen
settings.
that on the
Right.
back.
So basically, you can if you're interested about getting a build together, that's probably and it is for gaming. That's probably one place where I'd start, where you look up games you want to play and look at what the recommended are, and then shoot a little higher than that. Because if you going for the minimum, you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah.
Things are just not going to be quite to what you expect and whatnot. But to that point, I mean, it's kind of like a never-ending rabbit hole when you're chasing performance because you can push 300 frames a second
Mhm.
if your monitor supports it, but does that really make the difference um in you getting that kill over the next man? I think more than anything,
Absolutely.
I think while
Yeah.
there's a lot of variables that can play into your skill,
Yeah.
uh, ultimately, if you're good, you're good, and if you're shit, you're shit. And
Jeez.
that's
Cold
that's
cut.
that's what I believe, and
Cold cut foot long right there.
I think you can give a person like all the best tools, but like they still might
It's
not
what they do
perform.
with it.
It's what they do with it. You know what I mean? It's
We're dropping knowledge in this
we're
podcast. First
dropping
episode.
it's
First
it's
podcast. We're
heavy
just crushing
knowledge.
it, in my
But
opinion, at least.
but there's also people that
Yeah.
they'll chase the quality. They get
Okay.
the OLED TV. They'll
Jeez.
get the the heavy thing, and they're going for the high resolution, the ray tracing, and everything because they want that real cinematic, engrossing experience that's going to kind of sweep them off their feet visually. And so that's the other thing is that when you're looking at these fancy PC builds and everything, it's not always about just trying to be that edgy like top 3 percent player. Sometimes it's just you want to have like that nice experience that's like it's like getting that 4K Blu-ray where you're like, damn, this is how the
Yeah.
movie should have been. And that I can say just to throw out a quick example,
Yeah.
Red Dead 2, I got that on my PC now,
Top shelf, yeah.
and man, it's a night and day difference playing it on console to a PC that's well
Really.
equipped. It's just so much more crisp and
It
smoother,
looks
and
beautiful, I bet.
it looks even more. It already, don't get me wrong
Yeah.
though, it
Oh yeah.
already looked
Yeah.
beautiful.
PS4.
Yeah.
PS4. Wow. PS4 is definitely when the game first came out, I'm
Oh,
not gonna
shocked,
lie,
right?
little sidebar here. I was blown away
Yeah,
by graphics. Just
hundred
PS4
percent. Yeah,
graphics
yeah,
were enough for me, and
yeah,
I can't imagine it. I mean, crispy as hell on the PC, and
yeah,
that's what you want. That's what you want when
yeah,
in my opinion, you put good money into a what graphics card. Is that
yeah,
what it
yeah.
is?
I mean that's going to be a majority of where you're getting it from, but you also want a good processor and whatnot.
Yeah. Sorry.
Because these days, like games are pulling from different things, but yeah, the graphics
As you
card
can
is
see, as you can see, I
the
have
graphics
no
card
idea
is
what I'm talking
definitely.
about.
Yeah, well, I mean, and
Yeah.
that's these are deeper topics we can get into another time,
Oh yeah,
but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of room to
yeah.
explore,
In
but
my opinion, just to kind of put this to bed, Red
yeah,
Dead 2 is still underrated in my book.
yeah,
They gave up on that, and
they gave up on
that's
that
shameful because
fast.
yeah, it broke my heart because like I mean, although I didn't appreciate the multiplayer online, I thought I was extremely pumped for. Like I referenced earlier, I'm not really. I've strayed very far from the offline experience, story mode experience,
Yeah,
if you must.
hmm
And I've fully went ahead with the multiplayer experience, which I definitely want to get back to streaming, just solo offline
yeah, man,
play, and just enjoying the story again. Because this is all the hard work all these developers and everybody puts into
yeah,
it. Everyone that works on the game, and I want to appreciate it too. And I appreciate the graphics, especially with the PS5 and
hmm
and a lot of these other games either getting a re-release or having the PS5 version come out or whatnot. But just to kind of to put my opinion out there, I'm very very heartbroken that they didn't Rockstar just completely I don't know just ignored the fact that Red Dead 2 even existed. I mean, I was pretty I'd say ecstatic and hyped when I found out it was being released, and
hmm
then I was even more excited to know that obviously multiplayer was going to be a function, and to see how GTA Online blew up, just
oh yeah,
completely blew up.
hundred
And I
percent.
remember waiting 8 hours in one lobby just to try to
Yeah,
get into the main server, and it was like I sat there for 8 hours, and like I would come back, and it was I know everyone
yeah,
remembers the troubles
of when it
Yeah,
first launched, and it was a nightmare for like 2 weeks, dude.
100%,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And I thought Red Dead was going to be it, but then I get my ass whooped seconds in, and
yeah,
I'm riding a donkey, and I'm just getting wrecked. I'm getting hit with bows across the map. It's
yeah,
just it was I was getting hog tie. It was a
yeah,
nightmare. But not even just that, but just the lack of just attention and caring on the multiplayer side. In my opinion, it could have been, and this is probably an unpopular opinion, it could have been 2 times better than GTA Online, in my
yeah.
opinion. Because I love the Western storyline and just that whole what am I trying to say? That whole
Vibe.
vibe. I
Yeah,
love that, and I
that
loved
world, the
Red Dead.
world building. Yeah.
Red Dead Redemption was the game for me
Oh yeah,
for a
the
while.
original, and for those, the original's still out there. You can play it, though you sort of have limited options these days. But those games, yeah, there's something different about them. And I think, I don't think I'm alone in saying this, that the story in GTA 5 I felt was kind of lackluster. I think they were trying to do certain things and they pulled it off, but I just didn't feel as attached to the characters, and I wanted to see more on certain things, and some of it kind of felt a little over the top. Whereas Red Dead, it was like definitely a more focused and dramatic kind of experience
Hmm.
story wise, and I think that's kind of why the online for GTA took off, because the story was kind of whatever, and when it was like, whoa, you can play GTA with people, and which is not the first time they could do that, but it's the first official time they could do that.
Wait a minute,
Yes, yes,
do
yes. So just to touch on, of course, here we go again. So PC mods, and we definitely want to touch on mods, but people were making mods for Vice City back in the day
yeah.
where they could play together online. And
Honestly, I'm gonna be straight 100 with
yeah,
you. Didn't even know.
yeah,
Didn't
no, no,
even
no.
know. I had
So
no idea. I was thinking I was gonna tell you the first time I ever played GTA Online. I
yeah.
guess on a game was GTA. What was that, 4? Well, Nico
Oh
Bellic.
yeah, that's true. They did do
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And
And that it was
everyone
fun.
forgets about that. That was
Yeah, it
awesome.
was fun. Yeah,
That's very underrated
a
too,
lot of good
along with
times.
Red Dead 2. But I remember playing that at your house.
Yeah,
I believe we play. I believe, right?
yeah, probably. Yeah,
And
yeah.
then
I'm
I
sure
just
we did.
remember my mind was blown. I was like, you can play online
Yeah.
against people, and it was crazy because they did the same thing they did with Red Dead 2. They kind of like weirdly like
Oh, that's true. They
kind of
did do
shut
that
it
too.
down or didn't even care about it and just kind of left it alone, and then it went
Yeah,
away.
it was pretty bare bones, but yeah, I mean, in both regards, they kind of took them to the next level. That's a whole different topic. Rockstar Games in general, and that whole can of worms. But I mean, modding in general, like that's another thing that PC has going for it. In that,
That GTA mod thing, I see a lot of
yeah,
people doing that on Twitch.
oh yeah,
That's not GTA Online. That's like servers you can
yeah,
purchase and mod, or how's that work? Because I've seen gameplay on it. I have a friend
yeah,
that does that, where he'll go and it's like a full blown experience, but you can
right,
do so much more, add in codes or whatever,
yeah, yeah,
and have like different outfits and cool stuff. It's more like a um,
like a simulation type
yeah,
experience. Yeah, like a role playing. I mean,
role playing
they
exactly.
they call them RP servers, role playing servers.
What other games do they have RP servers for?
Oh, I mean, I couldn't even tell you. I don't really know off top, but I know that there are many games where they get into that. And with GTA, it's a good example because you got people hopping in there playing as cops and
I like
doing all
that though. I
kinds of
think
stuff.
that, and I was having a conversation the other day with I really miss the side quests you can do as police officers, firefighters, ambulance
Oh
drivers,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
in GTA. What was that? GTA 4?
They actually had that. I think in like
No,
most of them, they had
no,
it in.
no, in all of
Yeah,
them. No,
yeah,
I'm just
right.
saying they took it out though, and I
Yeah,
miss that
it's
because
not in five, huh?
imagine online play if
Yeah,
you could do that, and then you could be like you can also progress in a career kind of like the Sims in a way.
yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with
Oh
the
yeah,
Sims,
hundred
but
percent.
like
Yeah,
you can go that career path and become a
yeah,
detective eventually. And
yeah.
that would, if they added more of the role playing into it, I feel
Right.
like I'd be more engaged in the online play because yeah,
Yeah,
playing heist and that's cool and getting money, but let's be honest, the
Right.
money. I mean, yeah, you can grind, but I feel like it's just it's.
At a
I
certain
don't
point,
know.
once you buy shit, it's like, okay, what else?
Yeah, what
You
else
know,
is there to
and
do?
it's dope, to play, because I've been playing, my bosses at work, they've been getting into it, and it's been really cool because they're brand new to it. So I'm like, oh yeah, you got to buy this, you got to buy that.
What's that?
You should,
GTA?
yeah, GTA, and it's
Nice.
and it's really dope to kind of live vicariously through
Their
like
first
the
experiences.
experiences. But
Hmm.
honestly, yeah, you do reach a certain level where you have everything, and
Hmm.
you're like, yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
this is what's
yeah,
next. It's like
it's
there's
like.
only so many times I could sell coke. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm no
Right.
Scarface, but
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. And I think, and we've seen a boom in popularity for MMOs, which kind of are what you were describing essentially in having your roles or going deep into becoming certain things. And these
mhm.
MMORPGs, things like, of course, one of the biggest ones, World of Warcraft, and then you got Final Fantasy 14 right there with it, where people are playing all kinds of characters and classes, and think of it like being in Lord of the Rings, right?
Oh my goodness! Don't
That's
even
kind of
tease that.
no, I mean that's kind of what it is. Is you got your dwarves and your elves and
Yeah.
whatever. That's kind of like Elder Scrolls Online, which we've dabbled in a little bit.
Oh man, yeah, yeah, yeah.
You got that element there. That is what that is.
I think for me, I think that I personally, if I were to pick a genre to
Yeah,
say, that probably would be it because I'm a big Elder Scrolls fan.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now
100%.
don't quote me on it and don't try to test my knowledge because in my own mind, I love the game. I mean, obviously, I started out playing Morrowind on the original Xbox,
Yeah,
and I had a great time doing that. I love that game so much, and of course, you'll hear me say on various occasions I've loved that game, but like
yeah,
the love is there. Like I'm talking, I can go back and play it now. Like
yeah,
it's a brand new game,
yeah,
and I fell in love with that genre of game, and I love that, and I honestly personally kind of wish they would lean more towards that. And I'll take that any day over a first person shooter, in my opinion.
yeah,
You can have the full squad on, my whole clan's on,
yeah,
and I still would take that over them because that's what I love. I love that community that the I don't
yeah,
want to say PC. Well, yeah, the PC has with like World of Warcraft, or
yeah.
I feel
I
like
mean,
also that's more of a tighter community. Whereas with consoles, I mean, the line's drawn in the sand slightly with between Xbox and PlayStation. We like to pick fun at each other. Especially, I feel like my first exposure to that was like Modern Warfare 2, and I just remember it was never cross platform yet until now, but before then it wasn't cross platform. It was more or less like bragging rights on your separate consoles. Oh, I'm really good on Xbox.
yeah,
And then, oh, well, but I'm good on PlayStation. And we never
yeah,
got that opportunity. I remember having this conversation years ago with somebody that was bragging, oh, I'm this and that, all
yeah,
on Xbox. All right, cool. Come over to PlayStation. We'll talk about it. Oh, well, the
yeah,
controller's different. Oh, it's weird.
yeah,
Da, da. And I'm like, well, I don't have to charge my controller, so over
yeah.
here. But yeah.
But yeah, I mean that. Yeah, yeah. I mean definitely. But like you said, though,
Hmm.
the line has been drawn in the sand,
Yeah.
right? With all these platforms and how
Hmm.
they differentiate from each other. But I think that's the key. That's the key. Word, and the key theme is that it's really sand is movable, and therefore these lines are moving all over the place and are even going away. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
With the cross platform playability and
yeah,
and and I mean personally, I'm not. I don't hold it. I don't I don't hold any like personal like grudge towards a player on a different console. I say or a different platform. I'm sorry, and I know that I can point out if it's there. Oh yeah, so and so's on PC, but like you stated earlier, it's what you can do with that.
right.
Like you can have the
The best
X
shit.
amount of dollar souped up, just complete build on
Yeah,
PC and still be just hogwashed. You can be
yeah,
trash.
exactly.
And I think that it's what you make of what you have, and them encouraging everyone to do cross platform is great, because it also
100%.
adds more competition to it, because it does. There is moments where it's like, okay, and it doesn't happen often to me because I'm not that great, but there are moments where it's like, okay, I kind of feel
Could
like
use a little more challenge.
yeah, like I could turn
And
it
it
up
keeps
a
you in
notch.
check,
Yeah.
so
Oh my
when you
goodness, it
got somebody
embarrasses me.
gunning out the corners,
Yeah, or
with
someone
their
flying,
mouse.
either
Yeah,
one. If they hack it,
exactly.
it's cool.
Right, right. But so yeah, that's a lot into where these platforms are crossing over and they're getting more familiar. You got things like the Steam Deck now, which is essentially a
Hmm.
console platform. It's basically a specific targeted um, PC gaming device
Hmm.
that is being sold as like a console where it's running on a Linux operating system,
Hmm.
though people are putting Windows on it because you can do what you want with it.
Yeah.
But you're playing all kinds of PC games on there, and more we're seeing that you can get these kinds of experiences out of the box. Like you can buy Steam Deck, and more games are actually getting Steam Deck settings um, built in, so you can just kind of know if a game is optimized and it's going to run well on it without having to go like, oh, let me turn down the resolution and turn down this and that
Interesting.
in order to get it to run good.
Mhm.
So, I think more and more everything is just becoming blurred and people are playing what they're going to play on. And at the end of the day, it's all about having fun and whatnot. But, but something else that I wanted to touch on, you kind of, I kind of wanted to bring this in when we were talking about Red Dead, in that Red Dead, the only way you can really play the original Red Dead now from a console is if you're on PlayStation. You have to have PlayStation Now, and you have to have a strong enough internet connection to stream it
Wow,
from a basically what is a virtual PS3 in a server somewhere.
that's insane.
Whereas on Xbox, you can I believe they added backward compatible support to be able to play Red Dead One,
Hmm.
and they actually never released a PC port on PC. So Red Dead 1 is sort of lost to the times, and the average person doesn't really have
That experience,
that experience or even really like a
unreal.
solid way to play it these
And
days.
that's a great play, to be honest.
Yeah,
I played it a couple. I think I have it a video. I thought I had a video on my channel, but it was like shot with a camera
like a
phone,
camera
so
phone
it's
back
not
in the
great
day.
quality. But and that was like 6 years ago. So, and that was off of
Yeah.
uh Xbox,
Well, I mean, whichever one.
maybe,
Yeah, yeah, it might
question
have been your
mark.
Xbox.
I can't remember what it was,
No,
but I
no, it would have
remember
been
um
PS3, I think.
PS. I'm so sorry, PS3. Yeah, and that's a great game, and that sucks that it's like that. It's in a weird,
Well, it is in a
well,
weird
it's a
spot.
weird way to acquire, or
Yeah,
it's a more roundabout way.
yeah. I mean, because and this is something that console platforms, and of course, it didn't come out on PC, so it's like it's not like they could have done anything about it,
Mhm.
but it's sort of lacking, and which is very important is game preservation. You basically have to have a PS3 if you want to play this game,
Yeah.
or an Xbox platform where you
Mhm.
can backwards compatibility play it. But that's another kind of a highlight and benefit to getting a gaming PC or something that can at least handle some level of gaming, in that you got emulators, and basically what those do are they're virtual consoles that you can run games on. So for instance, on my computer, I have a virtual GameCube,
That's
a
insane.
virtual PS3, a virtual PlayStation 1, 2,
And
a
you have to
virtual
download
PSP.
and you have to download the games on those virtual systems,
Yes.
platforms.
So
Yes.
technically
So it's like a
there's
double download. Like you download the, what is it, like
like an ISO file,
like
which
a
is like a
server, not server, a file, sorry.
you basically download a file that would have been basically like the same that's on a disk, right?
Hmm.
Um, but that's if you want to go the not necessarily legal route. You
Yay,
technically what you should
illegal.
be doing is ripping those games from the actual games that you have, which can be done. But this day and age, everybody's downloading shit, so you know,
Run it.
uh, you know, people are downloading these games, and if you do some research, you can find some
Alternative
websites,
ways.
some alternative means to download these games that
Yay.
are otherwise kind of lost to history. And another one that we definitely got to mention is Metal Gear Solid 4, and that basically the only way you can play that on a
Mhm.
is PlayStation Now
That's terrible.
to stream it, or you download the PS3 emulator, and if you have a beefy enough PC
Beefy.
to run that, you can run it. But here's the kicker though, is the PS3 generation in particular, and even some of the older ones, what you can do with the settings is not only can you play this game on PC, but you can actually push it to that next level where the frame rate is increased, the resolution, the internal resolution is increased, so everything looks sharper, everything looks smoother,
Sweet.
and you know, thanks to you, I got a PS3 controller at the house, so I
Hey.
can play the original Metal Gear
Just a
HD collection and 4 on my PS3 emulator and have the full experience, and I mean it's beautiful. It's really beautiful, and it's kind of a shame that we have to kind of bring it amongst ourselves as gamers to bring these games, back from the dead essentially, and tons of people worked on getting this thing
yeah.
playable on a computer. Not to open up another can of worms, but the
That's
PS3
that's a deep dive
architecture,
there.
it's a deep dive, but the PS3 architecture was notoriously difficult to work with, and
Yeah.
it's hard to emulate that on a regular computer. And so a lot of work has been done to make that possible,
Hmm.
but it's there basically, and it's a beautiful thing. But that's another element of PC gaming that I wanted to kind of shout out, as well as their support for indie games, and that basically all of these platforms. I know for PlayStation, for instance, you actually have to pay, from what I
Yeah,
understand, anyways, you have to pay certain fees to get
you do.
certified and to even get your game on the platform. And you may or may not have to do that with Steam. I'm not sure,
That's interesting. I didn't
but
know that.
Steam definitely is way more open for the average Joe to just make a game and put it out there. And
Really?
that's why you
No
get,
charges, no nothing.
I
They
mean,
just
I
kind of.
don't I don't know, but from what I understand, at the very least, if there is a charge, it pales in comparison to what the console platforms would
Yeah,
charge you or ask from you to even put it on there.
yeah.
And so to that end, there's also early access titles. So a lot of
Oh,
games
I
that come
see.
out on consoles,
Yeah,
they've been out on PC, and they've
interesting.
been
The hate
like,
is reignited.
I know, no, I mean,
I'm just
it's just
kidding.
it's just
They're
I
getting
I
early
think,
access.
and that's because they allow it, because you can put a game on Steam, and all you have to do is
Yeah,
put a description on why is it in early access, what's the target release date for the official version,
of course.
what are things to be expected, and I think that it just creates a lot more room for experimentation and for unique types of games. And so, but of course, at the end of the day, people want to put their shit on everything.
Yeah, of course.
So
Why
so
wouldn't you? To reach a bigger audience.
exactly. And
Exactly.
so those that are lucky enough and get enough backing, then they end up releasing that game on consoles too. And you know, so at the end of the day, it does come out on everything, and
Mhm.
everybody can play it.
Eventually, they're gonna release a ultimate platform, and it's just gonna be everything.
Yeah.
It's just gonna
Well,
be
yeah, I think it's just going to be more of like that. It just comes out on everything because things are so alike that it's like, oh yeah, everything's going to be cross-platform.
yeah. Might
Or
as well. Might
yeah,
as well just release it to everything and reach a bigger.
it's like TVs. Think of it
Yeah.
like TVs. You can watch whatever you want on any TV, and
Mhm.
there's like a million different kinds of TVs out there. But
Doesn't matter what it looks like
doesn't matter what
or
it looks like,
what size it is.
what size it
It's
is, the
gonna play what
resolutions,
you
the frame
have.
rates, exactly. And consoles will get to that point, I think, and not just consoles, but platforms in general for gaming. Hopefully,
Yeah. Well, for the future, we hope um, that it's I don't know that it's universal for
yeah,
they just platform everything and just call it a big platform for everything and I'm interested to
further explore that side of gaming. I honestly think this is gonna take my gaming to the next level.
Yeah.
I feel like I need that last step, which is it's like a promotion at work, or it's like a it's like a leveling up.
Yeah.
Which in my opinion, as a strict console gamer,
Mhm.
and not even just besides having what I outlined earlier with my first exposure to PC gaming, I in the future want to broaden that and do more and dive more into the PC world, but even possible
Yeah.
beginner build on
Yeah.
something, and then just completely just flip it and unfortunately say goodbye to console.
No, I
We'll
mean,
see. No,
but
I'm just kidding.
here's the beauty that you don't have to say goodbye. You can have everything, and I another element is that I think people should that are hesitant should be a little more open, and that
Mhm.
you don't even have to build your own
Don't let
PC.
it be intimidating.
Don't let it be intimidating.
There you
If you
go.
want to build your PC, it's not that difficult. It just takes a good amount of research, or someone, being able to have someone that you know
Has
can,
knowledge of,
yeah, and can kind of help you do along the
guide
way.
you. Yeah.
Or you can just buy a pre-built, you know.
Oh, interesting.
You
Oh,
can
there
you
it
can
is.
buy them out the box ready to go. And there's even websites where I forgot which one it was, but there's certain manufacturers where you just tell them what games you want to be able to play and what kind of level of performance, and they're gonna just throw you here. You should get this.
I personally feel that PC gaming is slightly less restrictive.
Yeah,
They allow more.
yeah, yeah. And just like I was saying with emulators and whatnot, like literally you can do whatever on there. And people are doing all kinds of projects on all kinds of things. But I think we unpacked a lot here today, and
Of
I
course.
definitely wanted to get into VR and what it's like on PC and whatnot. But I think that's definitely room for a future episode where we can just do a deep dive on that. And I also want to, we can spend some time where I can bring over my gaming PC and whatnot, and
Oh,
we
and
can
run through it. Yeah, of course.
maybe so look out potentially for some side content where we do some of that coverage, because there's just so much out there in that. And I think everybody should, whether you're a PC gamer thinking about getting a console, or a console gamer thinking about getting a PC, there's definitely something in it for you, whichever way you look at it. And at the end of the day, we're all gamers, and we're just looking to have some fun.
Oh, of course, of course. Always, always.
Yeah. So if you if you made it this far, we applaud you, and we're very appreciative. And
Thank you.
thank you so much. Sound off in the comments. Reach out to us on our own platforms. We got our own channels on YouTube and such. And let us know what you think. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Shoot us some
Yeah.
questions. We'll run through it again. So this is Arze Poetic, ARZE Poetic, signing off.
This is Three Kings, T3HRE Kings, signing off.
EE.
E. I
I
spelled
think
that
I think you missed it.
hella wrong. Bye.